Live, the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Great to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the show with a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. We will get in plenty of football. Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, will drop by and we'll chat with him about some college and NFL. MVP watch. We're week 5 of the NFL season, through the first 5 weeks. Where are we going for our MVP pick through the first 5 weeks of the season? All of that and a whole bunch more. We'll start the show out with baseball, and we start the show with a special guest hanging out with us for the hour today. The one and only Chuck Todd is hanging out for the duration today. We were able to snag him. Sam has the day off, so Chuck is here. I am impressed because you did a red eye last night, and you're still here, which is
I'm
impressive.
here, which means I'll have less filter. Which is exactly what you're hoping for.
That is my speed. Right? That is absolutely my speed.
Less filter is better. But this is the best month in sports.
Isn't it?
This is the best month in sports.
Yeah.
We got two sports starting, baseball playoffs, peak NFL and college football.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing like October.
It is nothing like October. And boy, if you're a Yankee fan, you are breathing a sigh of relief after what happened last night. Yankees down 6-1, get up off the mat at Yankee Stadium. I mean, the place was dead. It seemed like the Yankee season was dead.
Yeah.
6-1 after Vlad Guerrero's hitting home runs. He looks like he's a cheat code right now in a video game. And the Yankees get up off the mat. They score 8 unanswered to win 9-6, and everybody's been waiting for Aaron Judge to have this moment. And it's amazing to me, and this is something I want to start with, is narratives. The narrative that Aaron Judge, this terrible postseason player, this terrible postseason performer. By the way, he's like 3rd or 4th on the all-time list for home runs in the postseason by a Yankee with 17.
There's a guy named Babe Ruth on that list.
Yeah.
Is that a good
Bernie
thing
Williams,
to be on a list with?
Bernie Williams, Williams, who should be a Hall of Famer, by the way, is also on that list. So Judge last night hits this home run. And that home run changes the whole narrative. Here's the thing. Going into last night, he's hitting 500 in this postseason. But they were all singles and doubles, so nobody was satisfied. He hits a home run off the top of the foul pole last night. It changes everything, Chuck.
It wasn't. Look, and this is one of those where the data geeks had a lot of fun with this. But my God, he turned on a ball that was essentially about to hit his belly button. And he was able to, I don't think it's the feat of that home run was more impressive than people fully appreciate with what he did. He turned on it. Literally, the thing, he could have had to get out of the way because it might hit him. And instead he said, I'm going to hit a home run. It was like the Carlton Fisk too, right? It had a little bit of the Carlton Fisk touch back there as well.
And I don't know how he kept it fair. Because you see that ball so many times hook foul, and you don't know how he kept it fair. And then the Yankees bullpen, which has been much maligned throughout this entire season, goes over 6 innings. You get 6 innings, basically, of shutout ball from the Yankees. Jazz Chisholm hits the go-ahead home run, and the Yankees are on their way. And look, everybody thought if the Yankees got through this game, there was a shot it goes 5 because you have Cam Schlittler going today. We saw what he did against the Red Sox in his last start. I have a hunch the Blue Jays are going to be a little better prepared for Cam Schlittler than the Red Sox were. The Red Sox looked like a dead team because of the way they lost game 2 of that series. But I have a hunch the Red Sox, everybody's just predicting this thing automatically goes to 5 because it's a bullpen game for the Blue Jays and Schlittler going for the Yankees. At the same time, if I'm a Yankee fan, I'm still nervous going into this game, especially the way Vladdy.
It's a rookie pitcher.
Yeah.
You're still looking at a rookie. That was an amazing outing against Boston. But you have to be a little bit nervous about that. But look, the Yankees go nowhere if he's not an ace. So in some ways, obviously their season's on the line because it's an elimination game. But in some ways, I don't see how this team gets through the next round if Schlittler, and I want to be careful how I say that name, if Schlittler isn't an ace. Like, he's got to be the guy. for them to be able to make this real run.
Yeah, he does. And I think it's going to 5, but Toronto's been so good at home all season long. And from the flip side of this, because we are on all across Canada, hello to our friends watching in Toronto on Game Plus. I don't know how you pick yourself up off of this. I mean, momentum carries from game to game.
Yeah.
We saw that in the previous series with the Yankees and Red Sox. The way the Red Sox lost Game 2 of that series, there was total carryover into Game 3 of that series, and we saw what the Yankees did there. I wonder if there's a carryover here. That doubt creeps in, the ghosts of Yankee Stadium, starts to creep into the Blue Jays' heads a little bit here.
No, this is one of those where, yes, you're hosting Game 5, but you don't want it to go to Game 5. You don't want to lose 2. I mean, these things. This is in the playoffs when you have that 2-0 lead and you lose. I mean, you're right. And so I don't want to say this is the must win for the Blue Jays because they're going to be at home and they've been great there. You can't deny that. And their crowd is great. And I think they could get picked up there. But you certainly would rather you need to close this out. You need to close this out. You give the Yankees hope. And I don't know if you can beat them in a Game 5. This
is the last day of the baseball postseason where we have 4 baseball games. This is a sad day.
Sad day.
It's a sad day, and you get these day baseball playoff games, which for me start at noon, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is a sad day that it's officially the start of the wind down. I hear people complain they don't like day baseball games in the playoffs. I love it.
You know what I don't like? I don't like a baseball game that goes to 1 a.m. But maybe I'm the old guy now. But I look, every time there's day playoff baseball, I flash back. I mean, I listen to the Cardinals. I have this back when I was a kid, I was a Dodger fan, and I'll never forget the 85 series with the Cardinals and the Dodgers and Jack Clark. And I was listening to that game in middle school, like with in the old transistor radio. I had an earpiece and I did this. Was just leaning on the ear, pretending I was listening to English class after lunch. But like, that was the joy of day baseball. Yeah. You're like, I can't put, you hated being in school knowing I'm missing a playoff game.
Well, there's more playoff games to talk about. Cal Raleigh, who had an MVP caliber season, we'll see if he wins it, and the Mariners, they win Game 3 in Detroit, and I think Detroit got screwed by Mother Nature. I will explain why when we come back on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety. Played with Georgia Tech. Played in the NFL with the Broncos for a number of years. Now in Denver, KOA Radio there. Get some thoughts with him on all things NFL and college football. Also, Deion Sanders still having all sorts of medical issues. It's just awful what he's dealing with. We'll talk about that some as well. Continue on the baseball conversation, and the Mariners just continue to roll. And I'll say this, Chuck. I thought the Tigers really got screwed by Mother Nature yesterday because...
Explain.
Yes, I will explain. You get a 3-hour rain delay the way they did last night, it just took all the steam out of that stadium. It took all the steam out of that crowd. They all walk in. You're coming in after a rain delay. You're soaking wet. Your seats are wet. It's just kind of a dreary environment. It is not the way you want to start off your first home playoff game of this series. And the Mariners, for them, that's a typical day in Seattle. I mean, that's all it ever does is rain. Right. And they came out firing on all cylinders, and now have a 2-1 series lead. Cal Raleigh hit a home run. Him and Julio Rodriguez continue to perform in this postseason. It's great to see Julio performing as well in this postseason. But you and I were just talking about it in the break, and I'll agree with you on this. You said it best. This series, go ahead.
This series was over when the Tigers couldn't win with Scooble in Game 2. There was one path for the Tigers to get to the World Series, and I
I bet I took a long shot on the Tiger. I put World Series tickets on the Tigers, the Mariners, before the playoffs started, the Dodgers and the Padres.
You didn't put it on the Yankees?
I did not put it on the Yankees. I did two sort of front runner-ish, right? Mariners, Dodgers, and I did two sort of long shotters, right? Long shots and Tigers and Padres. But the Tigers' path was sort of, the old Oral Hershiser path, right? Can you ride one guy to the World Series? You can't, right? It is possible. We've seen teams do this, right? Where you just ride the hot pitcher or the great pitcher and he can do it, but you got to win every game that pitcher pitches. And, look, he's there for game 5. So if they somehow win today, great. But it feels like not winning when they stole game 1, schoolboy. I mean, that was their path to winning this. And now you just, there's something about the inevitability of the Mariners. By the way, I worry about for the Dodgers, I worry about the inevitability of the Brewers, right? That there's something, they got the little magic, and, we all know this. The team with magic, the Nats had it in that 2019 year. You just sort of have it. I don't know if it's the Mariners and the Brewers, but those are the two teams that feel like they catch more breaks than anybody else so far.
By the way, I am sporting my Ken Griffey Jr.
Nice
Mariners shirt today, just for
it kills me, right? It's a great trivia question. There's only one team in Major League Baseball that's never been to a World Series.
Isn't that amazing?
And yet they're also the team that holds the record for the most regular season wins of all time, right? Like, that is just,
they should not be compatible.
It is totally incompatible.
Yeah.
But look, I'm a huge Ichiro fan, so I've been like pining for the Mariners to pull this off, and it would be great to see them I'll admit, it'd be great to see them in the World Series.
You're one day early. Tomorrow on the show, we have David Ardsma, who's a former Mariners reliever and closer. He comes on every Thursday on the show. He was actually at the Ichiro retirement, the number thing. After he made it into the Hall of Fame, they had a big thing in Seattle, and Ichiro's
younger than me, and it kills me. Like, we're almost, it's like, oh my God, he's like in his 50s, and yet he's younger than I am.
He could still play right now if he wants to. That's the scary
part. I could not, but he could.
Yeah, he could still play right now. The Mariners have really been fantastic, and I agree, it ended for the Tigers. Now you've got two other games today. You've got the last day, as I mentioned, with 4 postseason games on the same day, and one of those games will be the Dodgers and Phillies. And by the time most people watch this, that game will have already been decided. So we'll see how that plays out between those two teams. And the Dodgers, have yet to lose in this postseason, Chuck. And there is still, it feels like, when we talk about the Dodgers, it still feels like there is, as much as we love the Brewers story, and they'll have the Cubs today in Chicago in the friendly confines. As much as we love to talk about the Brewers, it just feels like the depth in this Dodgers lineup from 1 to 9. Let alone the guys that they could trot out of the bullpen that are, bona fide starters that they can bring out of the bullpen. It just still feels like there's an inevitability to this Dodgers team.
It was, is it the Yankees in 99 or 2000 had this sort of, they kind of muddled through the regular season.
It was 2000.
And then they get to the playoffs and they flip the switch. What's been amazing, it feels like the Dodgers literally flip. Okay, now these games mean something. Mm-hmm. All right, we got this. And everybody hits. Everybody hits. So and then you throw you do the starter bit, with Kershaw and Sasaki in the bullpen. They don't have to worry about everybody else. It's a pretty good recipe if they're not taken into a long series, right? I do wonder about the bullpen in a 7-game. But if they continue to get through these series just, without any speed bumps and without having to burn through the arms, if they win today, they're able to essentially get through.
Yep.
Without having to, they really haven't had to use Kershaw yet, but they've got him there.
He's available in the bullpen.
They haven't used Sasaki that much. I do think the Brewers are just that they will they will take this to 6 or 7, and that's when we're going to have the real test of the Dodger bullpen.
And Jackson Chourio, as much as we talk about what Vladdy Guerrero has meant to this Blue Jays team, Jackson Chourio has been all of that and more for the Brewers in this postseason. And you thought you lost him with the hamstring injury, and then I don't know how he miraculously recovered to play Game 2.
You know, Jason, I'm always impressed when stars are stars in the big moments.
Yeah.
Like, I just think because everybody wants you to be the star and wants you to make the big moment. And, I was like Ohtani, first at bat in the playoffs, he hits a home run. You're like, of course he does. Right? Like, he just steps up. Judge doing what he did. Churio's doing what he did. It's always fun when the guy you've never heard of, like, it knocks in the winning run or, has more home runs in a postseason than the regular season.
Yeah.
Those are fun stories. But let's be honest, for the fans, we want the stars to be the stars.
Yeah.
And so far, whether it's Chourio, J-Rod, Judge, Ohtani, the stars have been the stars, and it's only made it that much better.
Yeah, it has. I agree. Chuck Todd hanging out with us, the former Meet the Press moderator. You can catch him on Noosphere now, the Chuck Toddcast as well. We're coming back. We've got football. Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, will hang out with us to talk both college and the pros. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the program, a special edition of the show because Chuck Todd is hanging out with us today. Former NFL safety. Nick Ferguson's the former NFL safety. Chuck Todd is not a former NFL anything. He likes to talk about it, but he's not a former NFL player. Chuck Todd, former Meet the Press moderator, now the host of the Chuck Toddcast.
We can trade bios, Nick, right? You want to be the former moderator, Meet the Press, I'll be the former safety.
Nick, let me tell you something. I know Nick well enough. Nick wants nothing to do with being a Meet the Press moderator. He don't want to talk politics at all.
I don't blame him.
Am I wrong, Nick? Did I get it right there?
You know what? I've dabbled just a little, but I just try to stay surface level to just provide my own personal experience, and that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to do a couple of segments here, one on the NFL, one on college football. Let me start in the NFL. The news broke just shortly after we put the show to bed yesterday, and we did a SportsWrap short on it of Joe Flacco being traded. We knew the Bengals had to do something. I was screaming here for the last 2 weeks. Do something when it comes to your quarterback situation. Do not punt on the season when you're going to have Burrow coming back eventually, especially in a time where there's so much parity in the NFL. And it feels like if you just get into the playoffs, you got a fighting chance. They go and trade away, a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick to the Bengals, along with Flacco. And, the Bengals give themselves an opportunity here, trading for the Browns' veteran quarterback. Do you think they can win enough games with Flacco to sort of stem the blood flow here before they get Burrow back?
Hell to the no. And here's why. I know it upsets you, but no, we're talking about a team that needs draft picks. You know how terrible their defense is? They're going to need those draft picks to make sure that they can continue to move forward. I know the thought process was just, we're 1-4, Baltimore is 1-4, and Pittsburgh is sitting at the top, and all we have to do is bring in Joe Flacco. Yeah, we know that he helped Cleveland get to the playoffs against Houston, but they got destroyed. And once again, we're still talking about old man Joe Flacco. And we're talking about Jake Browning, who struggled over the past couple of weeks throwing interceptions. And he was a mobile quarterback. So you're going to put an old statue back there behind that offensive line? Are you kidding me?
I know the offensive line is an issue, but I still think he's good enough throwing the football that he could sling it enough that he can get to those targets. That he can get the ball to Chase and Higgins enough that I think he gives you a better chance to win than Jake Browning does.
Okay, so you know what you've used in the world of sports, right? You never want to say but. You always want to say and, right? But you say, but he can get the ball. No. Everyone's talking about his arm and how he can get the ball down the field. Once again, if you don't have adequate protection, you can't go through your reads. So he's going to get destroyed behind that line, and they're going to realize they made a mistake. But we're still talking about, the Cleveland Browns, who are often terrible, but more importantly, the cheap, very frugal Cincinnati Bengals.
Would Jameis Winston have been a better option? Sorry, Chuck. Would Jameis Winston have been a better option?
yeah, at least he can move around. I mean, he still is not the fastest guy, but at least he can move around. But even that wasn't a solution, because remember what Jameis Winston said famously? He wanted God to deliver him from pick sixes. Remember that? Please deliver me from pick sixes. So he would have been better than Joe Flacco, but he too would have thrown interceptions in that offense.
Nick, you said two things that really resonated with me. One is the fact, look, this is a cheap franchise.
Yes.
So the last thing you should do is, when you're a cheapskate, is trade away draft picks.
Exactly.
I mean, look, if this is your philosophy, we don't pay, then you better do draft picks.
It's a sixth for a fifth, though. Come on.
I hear you. I hear you there, but it's the whole statue part of it. Let me ask you guys this. Where's Kirk Cousins? That's who I would have gone after.
Makes too much money.
Cousins with these two would have been giving you a better shot. Look, you know what's going to happen with Flacco? We're going to have an incredible one game. There'll be the game he throws for 450. He does something ridiculous, and it lasts a game and a half. And then Browning's going to be back there for all the reasons you guys just stated. No O-line.
See, Chuck is reasonable. He is smart. I have no idea what you're doing, JP. But you know what? Listen, I mean, I understand it slightly. You are a New York Giants fan, so that says so much.
Hey, let me ask you, the favorite question being in the DMV was, is Joe Flacco elite? But more importantly, is Joe Flacco a Hall of Famer?
Ooh.
No, he's not.
I don't think he is either.
He would need at least another ring, right?
Exactly. And then when you look at, his time in Baltimore, you can say, well, how much of that was Joe Flacco? Or how much of that was the Ravens defense? Because that defense was great. It was the defense that shut down the 49ers during that time. So it's not Joe Flacco. No.
It's a defense that makes a lot of people today wonder, whatever happened to the Baltimore Ravens defense?
Very true. I don't even recognize this defense, but that tells you when you start losing coaches, it affects the play calling, because McDonald's is now in Seattle and the Baltimore Ravens defense is unrecognizable. They're giving up at least 30 points. I know Ray Lewis must be pulling his hair out watching this Ravens defense.
Let me ask you something. The Jonathan Gannon situation, do you think it was handled the right way in terms of the fine, his apology, for smacking DeMercado the way he did? And I've heard everything, the run of the gamut on this, from people saying, hey, this is what happens in football. It gets like this, to no, it was unprofessional, it was out of line, to people saying he should be fired. What do you say?
Well, yeah, it does happen in football. It happened to me in high school football, but you never see it on the pro level, because we're dealing with grown men. You my head coach, but I'm a grown-ass man. Don't put your hands on me. So if you put your hands on me, you invaded my public space. So I have a right to protect myself. So you can't file assault charges against me. But once again, you can't do this. It was an ugly eyesore. And Jonathan Gannon apologized, and the fine was excessive. But we can't do this. We can't open that door.
It's possible Gannon had the same issue with him that I did as a fantasy owner who started him, and I lost by 6 points. I lost by the damn fumble. I would win my match. Literally, he was the difference between winning and losing.
Arizona's finding the damnedest way right now to lose football games. I mean, it's remarkable kind of what. And there are seasons like this that happen in the league, but I saw Kyler Murray's face sitting on the sideline as that game ended. That looked like a dejected soul.
Are we going to see the second half swoon from Arizona that we see now?
We're already seeing it. Yeah, we're already seeing it. We're going to come back. We got more with Nick. We're going to get into some of the college football stuff. Is it over for James Franklin at Penn State? I think it has to be at this point. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more. Don't go anywhere. Coming up in 10 minutes, a NFL, well, I guess week 6 now, MVP watch. Talk about that. Hanging out with Chuck Todd, former Meet the Press moderator, now with Noosphere and the Chuck Toddcast. You can catch his political insights there. He's a huge sports fan. So we pluck them off the free agency market whenever we get a chance.
A bye week fill-in is what you're saying. I got it.
I love it. Nick Ferguson here as well, former NFL safety, hanging out with us on the show. So is it done? Is it a wrap for James Franklin at Penn State at this point?
No, why?
What do you mean, why? They can't beat anybody.
Okay, well, think about this. Every time something goes wrong and a team loses, the fan base and the media immediately goes, fire the head coach. But once again, James Franklin has been great for Penn State because you can't fire a coach without having another coach in waiting. So you tell me what coach they're going to fill in instead of James Franklin, who's going to do the things that he's done. Now, remember, he was a couple of games away from winning a national title. That has to count for something. And you think about the number of players that he's been able to place in the NFL. So you can try to throw all of that away. But where are you going, though? Right? We live in a world right now with the transfer portal and NIL. And fans get upset. We have a lot of wagers that are taking place. And fans just lose their minds. And just with these knee-jerk reactions, fire the coach, fire the coach. Remember Michigan? They lost. Oh, let me back up for a second. Ohio State lost to Michigan. Everyone thought it was all over, right? And they wanted to fire Ohio State coach. But guess what happens? They went on this one hell of a run, and they end up winning the whole damn thing. So it's like pump your brakes. Yeah, you're going to have some troubles with certain teams, but when you get a guy like Franklin who's done so much, and remember, Penn State had kind of a Hall of Fame college coach before James Franklin. And look how long it took them to get to James Franklin. So pump your brakes, relax, and just kind of buckle up and be along for the ride, man.
He's done. I think he's done at the end of the season. But
where do you go? Where do you go from there?
I don't know. You got to see who's available.
Isn't it? Look, I think that Clemson and Penn State ought to trade head coaches. I'm sort of being half facetious, but there's an argument. There's an argument to be made that these are two really good head coaches who have worn out their welcome, right? Yes. And the only thing I will say on James Franklin, because I watched this at Miami when they ended up hiring Mario Cristobal, Manny Diaz didn't do enough to be fired, but he wasn't able to get a certain amount of people to invest financially in the program. Hiring a Mario Cristobal got a bunch of money off the sidelines, and we now see the results so far after 4 years. The real question in Penn State is, who are the money people and what do they think? Because that's who's deciding these things in college football, right? If you can't, the head coach is sort of your chief fundraiser. And if he can't motivate the big donors to spend, then they may have no choice. But it is, I go with, if not him, who? Who are you hiring? You know, and you don't want to go and rebuild for 3 years, do you?
No, you don't. And here's the other thing. I would love to see James Franklin down in Clemson because Dabo Swinney will not embrace the NIL. And how well is that working for him in Clemson?
Right.
Right. And Clemson, he's done a great job of building up their program. But, you know, you don't have a Trevor Lawrence, right? That guy is no longer there. Right. And that's because you're losing out to other schools in the transfer portal. So, I mean, if you're going to get rid of Franklin, okay, have someone in waiting. But this is a byproduct of success. When you look at Mike Tomlin, you know, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, people are calling for him to be out too because the Steelers hadn't really made the postseason, but they hadn't gone far beyond that. But that's a byproduct of success. If you ask me, hell, sign me up for that. You know how many college teams would love to be in a position of a Clemson or a Penn State? But we get so engulfed with, well, we were on the top of the world and now we're losing. Think about Alabama. I mean, the boy lost the first game of the season to Florida State, and everyone was talking about firing him. I mean, some people, man, I get upset with these people sometimes. They don't think logically.
All right, Chuck, ask your question about the U. I know you got your obligatory question about the U.
You being a Georgia Tech guy, first of all, I'm just ecstatic that Miami gets a schedule without having to play Georgia Tech.
Yes,
because it is right. It is. But how does Georgia Tech not make the ACC conference championship? How do they blow this? Because it looks like the path for Miami and the path for Georgia Tech look pretty clean.
Yeah, they both look clean. So I expect for both of those teams to meet in the ACC championship. I think the bigger question is with Miami sitting at number 2 and I think Georgia Tech is sitting at 16. Okay, how things are going to play out in the college football playoffs, right? Because Notre Dame is ranked, I think, maybe 20, no, what was it 25th, 13th, or something like that, and they shouldn't even be ranked the way that they are because they're 3-2. So there's a lot of teams that are going to get screwed.
Well, but they're 2. They literally have lost by 4 points total.
So what? You lost, right?
I hear you. I hear you. Well, let's do it this way, Nick. Do you think the ACC gets 2 teams in the playoff?
Well, not according to Paul Feinbaum, because we know how.
God.
Now I know
Paul
Senator Feinbaum. Look,
Yes,
Senator Feinbaum can we'll let him count votes in the Senate.
Thank you, Chuck.
I don't think. Let me ask it another way. Does a 10-2 Georgia Tech that 11-2 Georgia Tech, 10 makes it in? I think, but does 10-3 Georgia Tech with a loss to Miami in the ACC title game, do they get in?
30 seconds, Nick. Go.
No, there's no 2-loss ACC team that gets in because of the 4-letter network. Their power and Paul Feinbaum, even a SEC team that has 2 losses always gets in because the conference is proclaimed to be better than any other conference. I mean, that's why this whole thing is a sham.
There you go.
It's built to get those SEC teams in the College Bowl playoffs because the idea is that if they're not in, why even watch?
Nick, we got one more segment. You want to hang out for it?
Why not?
All right. We're coming back. More with Nick Ferguson. Don't go anywhere. Let's keep the conversation going. Odds and Ends wraps it up in about 10 minutes here on the show. Chuck Todd is here today. Sam is off. Nick Ferguson is here, former NFL safety. Real quick before I get to the MVP conversation on the NFL, on the Bill Belichick stuff. All right, if not James Franklin gone at the end of the season, because I just want everybody fired. I want to contribute to the unemployment in America, especially senior unemployment, apparently. Why not Bill Belichick? Is there any chance that they hang on to him for another year if this thing continues to go the way it looks like it's going?
Yeah, you hang on to Bill Belichick. He's a Hall of Fame coach. And understand, I mean, look, the same thing that's happening in college football, it happens in NFL organization. You come in, you take over, you got to get your players in, and usually it takes 2 to 3 years for you to see the fruits of the labor actually come to fruition. So yeah, this is just a down year. We've seen this kind of happen before. This is one of the reasons, years ago when Bill Belichick, said, hey, I think I'm going to stay with the Jets. And then he said, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to stay with the Jets. I'm going to go with the Patriots. But in this case, he signed on a dotted line. And now the die has been cast. He now has to live with this. And he doesn't want this to be a part of his legacy, this dark cloud.
But it will.
So he wants to see this through, at least to say, you know what? In 2 or 3 years from now, that he's actually made North Carolina a competitive team. So no, JP, stop firing everyone. Give him an opportunity to turn it around.
Aaron Boone, too. I want him gone. MVP watch in the NFL through the first 5 weeks of the season. We're hearing the conversations about Dak Prescott, obviously what he's done. Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers. And why not Daniel Jones being part of that conversation, too, with what he has meant to the Colts? Where are you going right now for MVP through the first 5 weeks, Nick?
I'm not even going quarterback. I'm going the position that has been pushed aside, but it is very important for every quarterback, and that's running back. You mentioned Daniel Jones. No, the MVP is Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's bailing him out, right? Daniel Jones has done a great job. And I'll also say this. Think about this, all right? I don't know if you had a conversation about this, but you think about Sam Darnold, you think about Carson Wentz, you think about Daniel Jones. Their careers have been reinvigorated. You know how? Because they spent time in Minnesota, right, with Kevin O'Connell, right? That's if you ever broken quarterback, you send them to Minnesota. They gonna get him right.
Or San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan.
Or McVay.
Same situation, same philosophy, but they come back to one person who's still yet in the Hall of Fame, and that is my coach, Mike Shanahan. See how I brought it all back?
Well,
brought it all back. Yes.
Who belongs in the Hall to you? What do you say, Chuck?
I think the Jonathan Taylor pick's a strong pick. But if you're going to pick a quarterback, since it's usually a quarterback award, I don't think it's a close call. It's Baker. I mean, in the first 5 weeks. And look, the NFL is chapters, right? And I think, is it is the regular season 3 chapters, 4 chapters? I'll let you decide. But this sort of first chunk, right? It's Baker. I mean, look, I've lost money fading him every week the last 3 weeks, thinking, all right, they're going to give one back. They're going to give one back. And it's been on him. I mean, who else? If he has the ball and they're trailing by less than 1 score with 2 minutes left, he's starting to get that, he's going to get down there. They're going to tie this game or win this game. That's how you feel right now with Baker. We'll see if he can do it all the whole season. But I don't think it's
so. Chuck, with that being said, I would agree Baker's doing some fantastic things. Are we talking about MVP getting the Bucs to the playoffs, winning a playoff game, and being 1 game away from the NFC Championship? Are we talking about that type of performance from Baker?
Oh, I think if it keeps it going, I mean, I think to me, this is about him being a Super Bowl contender. I think they're Super Bowl contenders.
Listen, if you make the playoffs, you're a Super Bowl contender this year. Let's be honest. Nobody's inevitable.
Yeah, there's a lot of, everybody's got a big flaw. Somebody will look. This is why I say it's chapters. 5 weeks from now, there'll be a team we're not talking about that is like ripped off 5 straight that may have started 2 and 3 and will be like, oh, the Chiefs are back, or oh, the Packers really are good. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I hesitate. I know why you do these early MVP talks, but I always hesitate because you're like, hey, we got chapter 2 to come, right? We got this part 2 of the season, which could change everything.
Nick, let me give you a minute to wax poetic about the Broncos after their win in Philadelphia. Go.
Well, for me, usually when this happens, everyone talks about the offensive coordinator, the head coach, and the quarterback, because it is a quarterback-driven league. But I've played defense and I've coached defense, so I'm going to talk about the damn defense, right? When you look at what Chuck just said about the NFL being in chapters, and the team goes on a run, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, this team came out of nowhere. Look how many games that they won consistently. That team in the next chapter could be the Denver Broncos, because right now the Chargers are banged up at running back and the offensive line. The Chiefs just lost to Jacksonville, and we don't know, are they going to be able to recover? Because on that Trevor Lawrence fall on the ground, I saw Chris Jones just stand in place, right? Like he was at a Chipotle or something, right? We're trying to buy a meal. So the Kansas City Chiefs have their issues, but right now for the Denver Broncos, people are not talking about Vance Joseph and the defense. And they never talk about the defense, but we all know this. It's a cliche, but it's a proven cliche. Defense still wins championship. And here I've coined the Broncos defense, because everyone loves to give names to people, but I've coined them MacGyver. And if you want to know why, if you ever watch the series MacGyver, every time things get tight and someone is in a bind, who always comes through? With the paper clip and some gum and a rubber band. It's MacGyver. So the Broncos defense is AKA MacGyver.
Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety. I always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being with us today.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, coming Nick. Back. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Don't forget, Thursday, David Aardsma always hangs out with us, former big league closer. I'm sure he'll have something to say about the Mariners, especially if they wrap things up today. Get some thoughts with him on the program. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it, we are on all of them. In addition to being on over 270 affiliates across the country, we are also available on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which if you have not subscribed yet, go and do so. The show there every afternoon, 45 minutes, commercial free. It is fantastic, I promise you. And the launch of Sports Wrap Shorts has been an enormous success. If you have not subscribed yet, you're missing out on Sports Wrap Shorts. Whenever news breaks, we are there to get on YouTube with Sports Wrap Shorts. They're quick, get you up to date on everything that's going on. Joe Flacco yesterday signing, or being traded rather, from the Browns to the Bengals. Boom, we were on right away with the Sports Wrap Short. So you can find those there as well. And without any further delay, on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Chuck Todd. Hit my microphone. Odds and ends, Chuck Todd. Odell Beckham Jr. I didn't even know Odell Beckham Jr. was still playing. I thought he had retired. He's like 33 years old. He got a 6-game ban for PEDs. Apparently his testosterone levels were too high, he said, was the answer he got from the league. Says he still hopes to play. He'll be available to play, I think, by week 12 after he serves the suspension. Have we seen the last of Odell Beckham Jr. in an NFL uniform, Chuck Todd?
Well, obviously not. He's kind of trying to do the Roger Clemens, right? Just like every half season, just show up. Hey, all right. Can I jump on a playoff team? Right? You know, who do we think he suckers into this? The Chiefs?
Giants? Maybe
No,
finishes his career
team.
with the his career with the Giants. He said the Giants were interested. Pittsburgh?
Oh, Pittsburgh would be interesting. That's a pretty good one. There's a lot of testosterone levels in Pittsburgh. No, that's for sure. My doctor said the same thing. It's just, you got too much testosterone.
Yeah,
you know.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Chuck Todd, odds and ends. LeBron James' second decision is getting a lot of flack from people. And I got to tell you something. I didn't talk about it on Monday's show. I didn't talk about it on Tuesday's show. And the reason was simple. I knew what this was. And just because you weren't smart enough, and I'm not pointing at you, Chuck. I'm pointing at everybody who's pissed off about it. Just because you weren't smart enough to know that this was obviously something for either like Amazon Prime Day or something for something else that had nothing to do with basketball. Just because you're the guy that clicks on the link that says you won $2 million from a Nigerian prince and all he needs is your bank info, just because you're that guy, don't be mad at LeBron James, Chuck Todd.
I don't get it. There's like manufactured outrage about this. And, you know, it's this, you know, LeBron is so, everybody wants to pick nits at this guy. Oh, you know, you've only been in 10 finals. You only won 4. Let's, you know, why are you, how dare you make money marketing? You know, there's a column in the Washington Post this morning that just eviscerates him over this. And you're just, and then the sort of like, you know, he sells out of everything and he does this. And I'm like, where was your column on Peyton Manning, if this bothers you? Where was your column on Shaq, which, if this bothers you? Look, everybody's out. Where's your column? Oh, Snoop Dogg sells out. You know, this is the first of all, it's the American way. People are making money on their name, image, and likeness at all levels of life. And LeBron doesn't, like, you know, he's not selling timeshares. Okay, I mean, I don't feel like he's
not doing reverse mortgages.
Right, right. He hasn't.
With Tom Selleck.
He may be headed to reverse mortgage. My friend Henry Winkler has done a little reverse mortgage selling. Who knows? You know, Charlie Gibson did it. Who knows? Maybe in a few years they ask me. I don't want to sit here and mock that. I might be selling reverse mortgages.
I mean, if Mike Lindell wants to spend money to put my pillow on the show, I mean, Mike, we're here.
But, you know, but LeBron, there is an entire... What it really is exposes, right? If you're criticizing LeBron, you just don't like him, right? And you're just always looking for something. I still think LeBron, I marvel at the fact that this guy at 15 was labeled to be the greatest of all time, and he lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm with you.
And he did it without, his personal life is pretty clean. You never hear anything about this guy, and yet we still, seems to be a good role model. You know, so people don't like his politics sometimes. So he, you know, I mean, just the picking at nits at this guy is absurd.
Listen, before we say goodbye, I want to let you pimp out your what you're doing right now with the Chuck Toddcast. In the final 45 seconds here, you got the Chuck Toddcast, you got the show on Noosphere. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I got both of those things. So YouTube, like and subscribe. So, you know, you'd have quite an excellent algorithm if you're subscribing to Jason and you're subscribing to me. I promise you, that's an algorithm you will enjoy. It will keep you smarter. It will keep you informed on sports and politics in ways you haven't been. Noosphere, Noosphere. It's sort of a Substack alternative, independent journalist sharing a subscription. I've had some terrific interviews on that. I do a Sunday night show.
I love it.
There. I got a free Substack out there. You know, the life of independent media, it is, I think, more vital than ever. I think this is a time you need more independent media as corporate consolidation on everything, whether in sports or news. I do think you have to worry about it, you know, getting shaved around the edges. And in the world of independent media, we don't have to worry about it. We're not sanding down the edges. How's that?
Chuck Todd, always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, brother.
We'll see you all tomorrow.